So first off, I would like to thank Cait for submitting her video to Clinics for a Cause in aid of the Equestrian Aid Foundation, which is doing really good work to help those people that need an extra hand at this difficult time. So before we get started with the video, I'm just going to go through the notes that you sent me and give you some opinions, some observations based on what you've written down, and then we'll start the video, and with those sort of observations in mind, then we can talk about them and watch at the same time. So to begin with, you say you're an adult beginner rider, and that you've had your horse Rocket for 4 years. He's an aged horse, and recently has lost his confidence, which in turn means that you've lost your confidence in riding him a little, and that this results in some sort of anxiety and overthinking of what's going on. So I think that we just need to remember that the hobby, the enjoyment of riding horses, the sport of riding horses is really meant to be something that, we all enjoy. We appreciate our horses for what they are at any level, and that you don't get yourself in a position where you're worrying and anxious about your ride that day. When you're driving out to the barn, really look forward to going out there, seeing your horse, enjoying what you're going to do that day, and make sure that your plan for the day is something that you're prepared for. I think preparation is key to everything. So have a clear idea of what you would like to achieve for the day. And sometimes things don't quite go the way we would like them to. However, whenever we're pushing ourselves to improve and to learn more, things don't always go as planned. But understanding why that is how we return the next day and try and do it a little bit better and slowly improve. So our goals go from day to day to looking forward to a show coming up, or just a lesson, jumping a course of jumps, whatever it may be. Don't feel anxious. Just look forward to what you're going to do. Push yourself as much as you'd like to improve yourself, and as I said, achieve any of the goals that you want to get to, and as well as realizing that in the learning process, things aren't always going to go exactly as we would like them. It also sounds like on the video that your trainer is invested in you and your horse and your improvement, which is nice to hear. Certainly, the advice of path, pace, rhythm, the fundamentals of riding to a jump or any riding at all. So good advice there, and certainly you look like you have a horse that's suitable for the job, for your as a beginner novice rider. Certainly looks very safe, quite capable of doing anything you want to do with him. But now moving on to Rocket a little bit. As I mentioned, he's an aged horse, and you've had him 4 years. I think it's important to understand over time that, as with any horse or people or anything, we lose a little bit of our athleticism, a little bit of our ability as we get older. And that, that's by no means to say that he's, unable to do the job you want him to do. But I think it's important to understand that they do lose a little bit of their as I said, athleticism or scope, as they get older. And by scope, that shows up in maybe the length of his stride, his ability to take off from a distance that's a little bit further away. So we're going to keep that in mind as we watch this video, and we'll talk a little bit about what we can do to keep everything comfortable for Rocket, in his stage of his life and your stage of learning. And we'll try and come up with some tips or some things that might be able to help you, understand what's going on a little bit more, and hopefully get rid of some of the anxiety that you experience. I think it's important to start with any horse, especially an older horse, that we do a nice, good long warm up. And I'm sure you warmed them up nicely before you started here. But again, I'm going to reiterate that take your horse out, give him a nice long walk, warm him up correctly, some trot, canter. Really make sure that their bodies are loosened up and they're feeling as good as they can. Before you start in the video, it's nice to see you start with some trot jumps. One thing I will mention, as you're trotting to the jump, you can practice your position a little bit. If you feel like you get stiff in your body and your arm, then as you're trotting to that jump, when you're a couple of strides away, sort of commit yourself to your jumping, position, your little bit of a half seat, reach up the mane, hold a little bit of mane if you want to, let Rocket decide where he wants to leave the ground. But you commit yourself to your jumping position, as you're doing these trot jumps, so you get a feel of where your position is, land, exaggerate staying over him on that landing step. That will encourage him to land and continue to canter away without him feeling any inhibition sort of with you sitting on the saddle, on his back. That doesn't mean to say I want to see you, throwing yourself forward with your eyes down. I'm just talking about putting your weight evenly in each stirrup, lightening your seat, committing yourself forward over the wither with your shoulders whilst keeping your eye up in a straight line ahead of you. So as you're trotting these jumps, you could commit yourself to your jumping position just a little bit earlier, supporting his rhythm with your leg, but allowing Rocket to decide where he would like to leave the ground. As I alluded to earlier, as the horses get older and they lose a little bit of their scope and their ability to take off a long way away, nearly all horses, no matter what age or ability, like to get close to the jumps. They can transfer their power from going forward to jumping up and around what they're doing. The closer to the jump they are, the more comfortable it is for them, to do that and to load their hind end. And as they get older, it becomes more difficult for them to push away from that jump. So as we watch some of the cantering videos, we'll see a few examples of where the distances are really nice and come up nice and your position is very good. We see a couple where you get close, but what you'll notice there is that's very easy for him. He can just canter over that cross rail. You still land in balance. He can still canter away. The couple of the jumps where he's a little further away, you'll notice that's a little bit more of an effort, and that's where I see you maybe get a little stiff in your body, stay a little tall, and that makes it more difficult for Rocket. So I imagine that's where you get into your trouble, whether he stops or he has an awkward jump that doesn't feel good. I think that what you need to do is just remember to allow Rocket to do his job. He knows where he'd like to leave the ground from. So if everything's coming up nicely and you see your distance and you can think about your position, and again, practice your position even on the flat or over the trot jumps. When you're in control, practice your position, your half seat position as much as you can. Then when you canter down to the jump, you'll know where you are. And even if you don't, it's not a bad thing to allow Rocket to do what he does. If you think you're too far away, then you can still soften your arm, eyes looking ahead, and if the worst that happens, if he chips, then he can handle that all day long. Don't worry too much about having to ride him up to a distance. As your trainer points out, the distance will be as a result of your path and pace. So there, I think that you need to concentrate mostly just on your position. Allow Rocket to jump the jump from wherever he would like to. You concentrate on making that as easy on him as you can from wherever you are at the time. If he's a little bit far away and he's leaving the ground, or you think he's going to leave the ground, then make sure you commit to him leaving there. Or if you ask him to leave, if you put your leg on him and ask him to leave, then make sure that you lighten your seat, open your elbow, allow him to have the rein to be able to stretch over that jump. Or if he decides to chip, then he's also in a position where he can add that extra stride and still jump it comfortably. So now I'm going to start the video and just point some of these notes out, these observations I've made out as we're watching you go around. So we're trotting to the right. First jump. Good rhythm, nice jump. And even there, I would like to see you commit a little bit more with your arm. If you just see him, catch the bridle, you're good with your upper body position. I'd like to see you reach up the neck a little bit more. As I was saying in that, the note I made about the trot, to really commit yourself. And that's nice there. And now we're going off to the right, and again in this trot, nice rhythm, nice trot, nice loose arm, and there you see how you reach up on the takeoff. I would like to see that continue over the top of the jump and even for a whole stride afterwards. Really practice staying over until you've exaggerated. Do 2 or 3 steps after the landing. And again there, I think you'll see what I'm saying. On the takeoff, your position's very nice. Just commit to staying over all the way until all four of his legs are on the ground and we've taken a canter step away. And there's a good example of where I was saying that you could really reach up there, a couple of strides away, hold on to that little bit of mane, and make sure that we're not using his mouth to balance when we hit the ground. And that jump I didn't mind out of the canter. It may have been a little bit of a short distance, but I think that's where he's comfortable. And again, very nice there. And there we really stayed over, soft with our hand, and you rewarded the horse that cantered straight away from that jump without having to slow down at all. And again, good. Nice little lead change. Again, what a nice suitable horse for a beginner novice rider to start jumping jumps. And there we are again. So we have a good example of your position there. And this is what, even when things are going wrong, you need to commit to that. Because I think you'll find that no matter what happens, Rocket will take care of you. So there is our longer, sort of more gappier distance. He doesn't enjoy that one as much. You see his ears pinned on the backside. So I've just paused the video there for a second because I think that's the best example of the issues that you've spoken about in your notes. There again, I think that if you're heading down to the jump and I think you see a distance that you want to ride up to, and you're probably reaching sort of the end of his scope, a little bit. And scope has nothing to do with how high they can really jump, but it's more about how wide they can jump. And even at this little cross rail, if we're asking him to jump this small cross rail from a long distance, is really calling on him to stretch over there. You were positive with your leg and your ride to that distance, which is good. But again, if you're going to commit yourself with your leg, then make sure that you commit yourself entirely. And even if he ends up adding an extra stride there or chipping, you're going to be out of his way. You're not going to catch him in the mouth over the top of the jump. Or if he leaves just as he did, then that jump won't feel as awkward as it did. My feeling is if you'd have sort of softened your arm and got into your half seat, a stride out there, he may even have added that extra stride and chosen that more comfortable distance for himself. So I'm going to just start the video again. This is your next jump, which turns out to be very nice. And a good example of the other way, which right there you were much better. You soften your shoulder, soften your arm, and he was really happy and comfortable there. Yeah, a little bit more forward there, this vertical now, and it was a nice positive ride, and you stayed over, so you looked nice and confident there. You know, I really like Rocket. You have a nice position on a horse. Just think about the things I was talking about. You know, work on your position over the jump. Don't worry so much about your distance at this point, right? And work on your skills and in your position, and you'll find that Rocket will become more and more comfortable, as time goes along. So I also would like to point out that once your session is done and you've ridden your horse for the day, certainly it's important to understand any mistakes we've made and reasons for them. But I don't like to dwell on them. I think it's important that all the people I help or train is that they also go back and they watch their videos, but don't fixate on the things where they feel like they've made a mistake. You look at the good jumps, watch the good jumps. And in this circumstance, there's plenty of good jumps, and there are some that maybe you would like to have been a little bit better. But really watch those jumps, watch your position when things are going well. They're the habits we want to create and to think about. So I'd like you to spend more time thinking about what you did well that day, where you want to improve. Really think about that jumping position. Keep working on that, and enjoy Rocket. He looks like a lovely horse, which is suitable for the job, and just keep Rocket happy. Thank you again for sending your video in. I hope that I've said some things that might be able to help. And as I said, when you go home at night, think about the good parts. Just understand the mistakes, but think about all the good parts and enjoy. Thanks again. Okay, bye-bye.